Hello, this is Bug News, and today we're going to talk about um, Ready to Love, uh, Ready to Move. Not sure if that's the exact title, but also this is like, one of my few lives. But anyway, we're going to move ahead. So, as you know, the cast members for the show, names are I'm sorry, Ready to Love, Make a Move. All right, so as you know, the cast for the show are Sharice Logan, who is an aesthetics, if I'm pronouncing that right. And then also Ashley Atkins, who's a speech therapist. Sharice was on Ready to Love Miami. Not sure which season exactly. Ashley Atkins was actually on season one of Ready to Love out of Atlanta. She's a speech therapist, bartender, and entrepreneur. Bernicia Allen is a salon owner and insurance broker. And Zadia Murphy is a fitness and makeup artist. Um, So it's only four women on this cast, but each one of them is a little different as far as in their personalities. Um, Now, if we start with Cherise, she seems a little bougie or bougetto, in my humble opinion. She she demonstrated this on one of the dates. Now, all the women went on a date, but they got to choose the man that they wanted to date on this first episode. Um, and in Cherise's case, she picked a guy. They were talking, kind of similar to Ready to Love. They have a mixture, but the women had 25 guys to pick one, and then the women had the probability that they could be dating the same guy. They knew this up front. So, um, Charisse picked a guy, and as she got to know him, she um, didn't like him. And it was pointed out that she said she's from Baltimore. I thought she was from Capitol Heights, but maybe she moved around a lot. But she has this look that she gets if you've seen her on the show, that when she doesn't like you or she's upset. But the guy, he was a military guy, he was an officer. I think he has two children, and he appeared to be um, concerned of Sharice because he had a young child who's 4 years old, which is cool. Um, but I guess at the point in her life, she, you know, doesn't want that. And we're not even sure that she wants kids, but she is getting older. And I think the guy was a little bit younger than her. But a lot of people don't realize that women, in my opinion, like in their 40s, they're not just willy nilly in a lot of stuff. And in Sharice's case, she doesn't have any children, so she has even more room to willy nilly. But um, these guys may not be in her age range. She probably needs to date a guy in his 60s for what she's looking for, in my in my opinion. Um, um, because she has a lot of a long checklist, and I don't think she's going to find it in reality. Um, Even the guy admitted that she has a wall up, but he was still willing to be patient and work around the wall. I don't, this editing. This is the first episode, but he's pretty much out of the picture as far as Sharice is concerned. He's going back to the pool of the 25. Um, the next person, Ashley Atkins, who she's fun and bubbly, but she was hurt from the guy from her season. He made it all the way to the end, and come to find out, he didn't appear to be too stable or what have you. Um, she went on a date, and it appeared that everything was cool and they were working out. Um, but one thing about Ashley, I think she also has written a book, and she appears to not. Well, I'm not gonna say not, but she has a lot of things that are documented going for her. Now, she does have the advantage of being on the first season, which a lot of these women didn't have, or even the men. So when it came to the promotion thing, she could kind of propel off that for a couple of years. And then if you research her a little bit, you'll see that somehow I think she has a PR team, but doesn't have anything to do with the show. Um, she's in her 30s. I don't recall if she had a child or not. Um, the next person we have is Renisha Allen. Now she's a salon owner. She does have kids, and they are teenage age, and maybe some in college. And she was on a season, unfortunately, where I think it didn't work out. And most of these don't work out, but it's on a season when it didn't work out. But y- she, didn't appear to, um, she was a little more receptive to the process. That's the best way I can describe it. And I think a lot of people may not have wondered why it didn't work out in that aspect. Um, but she did choose a date ever. She did choose a date. They went on a date. She talked about her life. Um, I think she picked the same guy as Ashley, if I remember correctly, because you remember you can pick the same guy. Well, maybe it's Zadia, but and it kicked off well. Now, mind you, that it still had the kind of all these women on a date still kind of had the same feel of Ready to Love, like that first date, and you had the guys giving the right answers and things like that. Um, Now, Zadia on her date, it still was the same thing, but one thing she said um, was that she had to worry about the guy seeing the real her. And I'm not too sure what that means, but one key thing with Zadia is she said she didn't want any children. She wasn't concerned about that. She just wanted to be in a relationship, and the guy had to have some nip tuck money. So she's always going to probably be trying to look fly in that aspect. Um, but one can assume that Zadia is a little more is flexible in this situation. Whereas if we compare Cherise, she's not flexible, and she kind of was asking all the wrong questions, like the guy, if, was he, because he had the 4 year old, and I think he had a teenage son. But on the other hand, she said he was stable because he had been in the military for some time. I think he was like 38, and she's like 44, which is a difference, but it's not that much of a difference in the scheme of things at their ages. But what she should have asked was, or implied, was, oh, that child support has to be expensive, or do you guys have joint custody? She did ask would it be an issue with the mother because the child is so young and she might have wanted because the child may need the father in their life as it develops as a 4 year old. But what she should have asked, in my opinion, was, hey, those two kids, how much is your income? I know it's a very personal question, and I guess you would have to word it a certain way. Ah, that must be a lot in child support or something she could have said. But that should have been the question she asked if she's looking for certain things, stability and things like that. Um, because he could be stable, but when they get together, a large portion of his money, or she might want to live a certain lifestyle, and it may not happen because some of his money is going to child support or college or whatever. Now, if he has joint custody, of course, there's no child support come out, and then there will be some burden on her because the child will be coming over, and she has to deal with that and be responsible for, someone else's child, and making sure that she's up to par in that aspect. Um, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but like I said, he was sent back to the 25, or he was sent home. Now, what I did like is, like, right after the date, they kind of interviewed the guy and got their opinion on the stuff, and it seems like they're not kind of doing a lot of sensationalism, if you know what I mean. They're kind of letting it try to balance out so the women can have, a good presentation on the screen, and then and the men too. Um, it hasn't gotten too wild yet, and hasn't gotten too crazy. It's just, it's starting off now. Um, the next episode, the matchmaker is supposed to pick the guy that they're supposed to go out and date on, because she probably knows more about the guy, knows what a match will be based on women's personality and things like that. But that hasn't happened yet. The women were allowed also during the show to kind of express themselves, like, and bring them in more of a human form. Whereas in Ready to Love, they didn't have that opportunity to kind of say who they were and what they were looking for. So in this case, there's only like four women on the show. So they're going to get a little more TV time and character development than what in the past with like 11 women and uh, well, maybe not 11, but let's say four more women at eight. And they don't get the time together, so you got eight men. So you're not going to get this time to kind of develop. It's going to be kind of condensed. And they don't also have to worry about being eliminated. So that gives them a different dating aspect of themselves. What's to come forward. Um, but what they probably have to worry about is, what if one of the guys don't like them? They go out, you know what I really want. I want to go back to the dating pool, or I want to do this. Um, and one added knows all the women are living in the same house, which probably can be kind of a strain if you're, like 30 and up, and you've been had your own environment. And in one particular case, or one of the clips, Sharice is not comfortable with that, as you can clearly see. So she probably has never had a roommate, and if it is a roommate, it was probably a guy. But I'm pretty sure they're going to explore why she didn't want men in the house, and I hope it's not something of 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 of, of great pain, in that aspect. Um, a lot of people probably going to have a problem with Sharice because she's not painting. Like I said, she's not painting in a bad light, but it's just going to be those actions, because I'm seeing it. I'm having a problem with it. But like I said, she has the right to have her boundaries and have what she wants. I don't see how she's going to find a guy with all those criterias um, in that aspect. Now, if we compare her to uh, Vernisha, who's about the same age, who has children, like I said, she appeals a little more laid back. She doesn't she hasn't set any boundaries, but she has, I guess she's dealing with different variables in her life at this time, and it's just different perception to some extent. Um, and if we compare Sharice to Ashley, who's younger, um, and she's a little more open or transparent than most of the ladies on the show. Um, it appears she just Ashley just wants somebody to be honest with, based on one thing she pointed out. She said she was embarrassed on national television with the guy, and like I said, it was the first show. And then if you look at the first show, it was kind of, the budgeting was kind of low. Um, to me in some aspects. Uh, but she's just a little more transparent than most of the women. Zaria is, hasn't really got a chance to, say what her issues are or what her concerns are. She's talking, describe what she's looking for. But I think she dated Naeem, and they lasted for 10 months. And remember, Naeem left the show for Zaria. He was still on the run. He was still on the show. Um, and I think I seen Naeem because I'm based out of the DMV area. I think I seen Naeem and Zadia out on a date. She looked a little different, and I didn't really recognize it, but I know I recognized Naeem. So, um, so at that point, they were still dating. Now I wonder what happened. Maybe Naeem, I don't know. Can't remember Naeem. I think that's his name. Had children, and maybe if Zadia said she didn't want any children, that might have been, the straw that broke the camel back. And then if you look at Zadia's fashion style on the show, um, and then and Naeem's fashion style when he was on the show, but and what I mean by this, because they got more TV time, so Zadia's in these different looks with head wraps and things like that. So you get a different look. You would think they would have been a match based on the presentation of Naeem. Um, because Zadia does wear wigs, but you have to kind of watch it to see what I mean by her fashion style on the show. So the only um, issue that I might see is, like I said, between women themselves, is the if they're going to get along in the house. And remember, the women are not under any pressure, but only to probably find a mate. The men are under pressure. Um, because they probably can be eliminated. Like if you say you don't like a guy, maybe they can bump him off. I don't know the angles of that. I don't know if the guy goes back to the pool or if he is, um, brought, back to so the other women can date him. I think they're probably going to eliminate the guy um, in an aspect. And so the only thing that really the women have to be concerned about is trying to find a match because they're not going to be eliminated, uh, which is going to be, is takes a lot of pressure off. So I guess what I'm wondering is going to happen. Are they going to do this another show for the men? And if that happens, that'll be even more interesting. But we'll see. Um, so I'm pretty sure it kind of gives the women like a little more relaxing. They're not going to be eliminated. They can be themselves. They can um, explore the dating thing. Now, as you know, the one criteria is they're supposed to move to New Orleans, but I don't think anyone's going to move to New Orleans if they're in a more metropolitan city and things are going on for them. But that's a part of the show. That's a part of what they're up against and what they have to do. A lot of in that aspect, but who knows? Um, I don't even. Well, we're not that far along yet. Um, in that aspect. And so, then on the side, it's a woman host. So we're assuming that it gives a woman a little more comfort on certain things, whereas Tommy was the host. And then the lady's supposed to be a matchmaker, so I'm assuming she's a matchmaker. She has some type of sociology or psychological um, background on people. And she's just a matchmaker who says she's a matchmaker, like a church or a family picnic. It's a little more science to it, I hope. So if we assume that all the men have been vetted, and as you know, a lot of times a lot of the men have not been vetted. Well, let's not say been vetted, but vetted to the point that we would think they would be vetted. But in that aspect, they didn't, I think it's 25 guys. So of course, they didn't show every 25 guy and have them explain who they were. But we do know that it's supposed to be 25 guys. So right now, One got recycled, so he probably didn't get kicked off. One got kicked off, and another was there. So, and then the men are, oh, some of the men are in their 50s. So this is a little dynamic because the show is really targeted to, I guess, 30 and up. And then that this is a women's side, I guess I'm assuming that the show is also targeted to women, older women, uh, because there's a lot of older women in that demographic that are dating, and older guys too. Um, but there's probably more older women watching the show. And I know some women complained that they said they was just upset that a lot of relationships didn't last long. As soon as the show was over, a lot of relationships were over. So I guess if we go down the successful list that were on the show, right now we got Joy and Cliff, but they bounced over to another show, so we don't know if that's was just clout chasing. We used to have Rashid and Simone, but Rashid couldn't come up with his half of the money, so Simone allegedly got fed up. Although he had allegedly had a lot of fake stuff, but I think she was willing to deal with that. Had he had his, it was like, "Ah, I'm tired of this." So that's what um, ended that. And then after that, so we got Cornelius and I forgot her name, but Cornelius and his girlfriend. They're supposedly still together. Um, um, from what I've asked around about, and people have confirmed, on their social media page that they're still together. But do they got a Will and Jada relationship, or are they really still together? Because they're not married yet. They're just out there. If we make these comparisons to see how the show is going to move along. Now, I can't even think of her name right now. Camille, she is supposed to come on the show as Zadia's friend. But who knows? Who will? Who knows? So that's what a lot of women have been complaining about. That watch the show, that some of the relationships don't last that long or long enough. And usually after the show's over. So right now, if we do a body count, we only have three out of what, 6 or 7 seasons, maybe 8 seasons. I think it's 8 seasons. Uh, yeah, sub 500, sub 400. Not even half. Now we do know that some of the cast members did hook up. You know what I mean by hook up, behind the scenes. Um, no, actually, no, four, because I think that one of the Miami people are still together. The fireman guy and the other lady, I think they are still together. So that's four. So half, we're gonna say half of the people together. Four, if it's 8 seasons, so that's half. Yeah, I think it's like 8 seasons. So if those people are still together, um, you know, this baseball batting average was 0.500. Supposed to be pretty decent. Um, but no one, you know, I guess it's just a perception, thinking it's going to be a fairy tale to the end. And there's only one that's married, and that's Joey and Cliff. And we trying to see how that's working out now. But they gravitated to another show um, on the same network, and it appears to be working for them right now to that aspect. Um, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And I hope that Sharice is not carrying a mean mug face all throughout the show, and I hope she actually finds someone, because even on the last show, there's a lot of times she was challenged. You know what I mean? The last show when she was on Ready to Love Miami, she was challenged, and she had to raise up and things like that. Um, I mean, it's unfortunate. I think it didn't work out between her and Samson, if I remember correctly. Um, but this should be interesting. I think the ratings will probably be halfway decent, um, uh, to some degree. Uh, Although, and actually, on this, there was a lot of marketing behind the show, from what I've seen. Whereas in the past, I don't think it was as much marketing as this show, or um, or this package of a show. Uh, you know, uh, the women, the women, as I said before, they appear to be a little more relaxed. Uh, but the only issues they probably have, like I said, is living together. At least some of the women have living together. I mean, pretty much if you're in a house that big, you just stay in your room when they're not shooting. I guess if you're dating, and they come past the house, ain't nothing gonna happen because you might be dating the same guy. So that's the interesting thing. Um, and of course, I think Ashley said Zadia was more in line with her than the other women. So they're probably going to talk about their dates, whereas other women may not talk about their dates. So in essence, Zadia is more close in age to her. Zadia doesn't have any kids, and whereas, uh, well, uh, Sharice doesn't have any kids, but Renisha does have kids. I know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Renisha does have kids, so and she's a little older. So both the other women are a little older, in age. Um, the only strange thing I thought was the house that they were in seemed like it was like a railroad house, like they recycled one of the railroad houses from New Orleans. Um, I thought it was a little strange, but that's just my 2 cents. I could be wrong. Um, I'm not sure if, yeah. Well, the only doubt that I have, I don't think Sharice is going to find anyone. Um, she's Even though she's on here, and like I said, it's a little different. She's like got that long list, and it's going to be hard for her, allegedly. Or it may be hard for her. Like I said, I haven't seen all the episodes, but we'll see how the matchmaker will coach the women through the process. And I'm sure they're going to have some type of entertainment things on these dates and those things. But um, let's say if it's like 8 episodes, and I don't know how the other 25 men will, or the men that are left will phase out or be involved in all this to that degree. I guess it's just going to be kind of interesting to watch how the matchmaker manages the situation, because only people that are going to be sent home are the men. Um, well, that's all we had to talk about for this topic. This is Bug News. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment, and thank you very much.